P.O.L.
Yo, what up y'all, IntraVenus here, back with another episode. Today we are taking a look at MagicX's brand new handheld, the 040, which is a collaboration they've done with the publisher P.O.L. I have here the white version that comes with 128 gigs storage on the micro SD. Here are the specs if you want to check those out. I've been looking at this for a while and I'm pretty excited about it. I've been following it as it's been in development, and it took a little while to come out, but it came out almost right around the exact same time as the Anbernic RG Slide, which I recently reviewed. This packaging is decent. You know, this is very affordable. It's only $75. We got a cord here, USB-C, I believe, if I can get it out. Yeah, USB-C, nice and white, just like the console. This comes in black and in white. I went with the white. I don't have too many white handhelds, and I thought maybe this was the time. And we got a little minimalistic manual under here as well. Let's pull this out. Nice little padded cover. And there it is. Ooh, got a little protective film on the screen. We got our L2 and R2 buttons up there. Feels comfortable. Feels pretty good to hold. Not gonna lie. It's a little slab. Look at that on the back. You know, this kind of reminds me of those old school Tiger handhelds. I don't know if any of y'all remember those. Alright, here we are. Almost a month later. I've been playing this for several weeks and I really like this handheld. In fact, I find it to be the most affordable way to play Nintendo DS games in a higher quality resolution, emulation, not using physical cartridges. If you're not using a DS, this is the way to go, man. This thing is freaking sweet. So when I turned this on, I found that it came with 1400 DS games. I did add 2 of my own there. They really included nearly everything on here, which I'm sure Nintendo is very happy about. But there it is, you know. This thing is fully loaded with nearly every Nintendo DS game you can think of, and they all play perfectly. The screen is just slightly smaller, so before we get into emulation here, let's do some size comparisons. Here we have a Nintendo DS Lite, my Naruto version that I got off of AliExpress. I think I got this for around $50. This is $75. Let's open it up. If you've ever had a Nintendo DS Lite, then you might get an idea here of the size. Now, if you take a look at the corners here of the screens, you'll notice that this one comes over just a little bit more than this one, but it really isn't that much smaller. I've seen some reviews on this and people complain just slightly. They're not like really harsh or anything, but they complain a little that the screen here is smaller than on the smallest DS handheld that you can get. And I can see why they'd be upset. It does look small on here, but it's just large enough that everything's fully legible and it makes everything look really crisp because it's just slightly smaller. I would consider this like a 2DS mini. I don't know if you remember the original 2DS. It was like a slab. The screens were bigger, still separated. But on here, we have the separation emulated in the center of the screen as you're playing your DS games, looking really sweet. They look really good. And you got the touch screen going, so you can play everything with your finger or a stylus. But unfortunately, you cannot use your stylus that comes with an original DS because this one's more pressure sensitive and this one's like touch sensitive, like your modern phones. And so you'll need a stylus that works on the screen of something like your modern phone. But you could do that, or you could just use your finger. Here's the new 3DS. This is, you know, closer to the size of the new 3DS closed here. Just sticks out a little bit, you know. where the screen is, bulges down here and up here, if those bulges weren't there and the screen were smaller, it would almost line up in there. But we wouldn't want that. And there you can see there is a huge difference between your real estate on the screens here versus here. This is definitely a mini way to play your DS games. And you're not going to be playing 3DS. 1, because it's not powerful enough. 2, because you don't have a bigger screen at the top than the bottom. It would have to emulate an even smaller screen down here. I don't think it'd be worth it in that respect. This is mainly for DS games and vertical arcades, known as TATE Mode arcades, T-A-T-E. And you know, you could even do a few more things. There are some other arcades that look pretty good on here. Here's a handheld that I've reviewed on the channel, and I really liked. I still like it, but it just has some flaws. This is the RG Cube from Anbernic, and it is very similar in size to this. And the RG Cube is actually almost identical in size, height, and width as the RG Slide. There's those next to each other. Now, interesting thing about this one is it was often shown doing DS emulation because the screen made it okay. It was okay for DS emulation, but when you look at these next to each other, you'll find that this one is way small. But people were fine with it. You see here, making this comparison, and people were actually comfortable, including myself. I almost played through the entire Hard Gold Pokemon game on this. When you look at this one, this is actually a way better way to play it. Let's try to line those up a little bit so you can see exactly. Yeah, you want to talk about tiny, micro way to play DS. Try playing DS games on the Anbernic RG Cube. They look really good, but nothing like this. Alright, let's do some screen comparisons here with the DS Lite. This is the DS Lite up at its full brightness, as well as the RG Cube and the 040 here. The Cube is actually the brightest here. This isn't the brightest screen, but it just gets bright enough, honestly, and in person it is brighter and crisper than the actual DS screen. One of the reasons why I don't really like playing DS on an actual DS or even a 3DS these days is because the screens don't really look as good as they used to me. Nowadays they just kind of look a little blurry, lacking definition, don't quite get bright enough. Of course, you can still flip them close and play real DS style, and you got your stylus back there and everything. A lot of people who grew up with the DS probably would like to stick with the DS. But this is a new way to play it. I think it's definitely worth a try, and if you are someone that wants to get into playing DS that didn't grow up with it, like me, I was off like partying and stuff around the time the DS was coming out. I was playing the PSP sometimes, but it didn't really get into the DS. So going back and playing the games now in this high definition with actually really good volume. This thing's got great speakers, stereo. And using my finger on the touchscreen and stuff, I actually am really enjoying myself. It is just big enough. And the ergonomics are great. And if you want to use a stylus, you can use something like this. A lot of times you'll find even a ballpoint pen with the stylus on the back. And you can use this to touch your screen too. Something important to know if you're thinking about purchasing one of these, or you have recently, is when I first got mine, it was having an issue where it would power itself off while it was in sleep mode for a little while. And then when I try to turn it on, sometimes I'd have to hold this button for like 10 seconds, 3 times in a row. It just wouldn't turn on. Sometimes then it would suddenly turn on. Well, days later, they released an update. And if you go to the settings here to online updates, and you can update it, and that will fix that issue. Yes, this thing does have Wi-Fi, and it even has a built-in web browser. It's got Firefox, and it, you could download your games wherever you might have them right from the internet and put them on here, organize your folders and stuff. This is really awesome. In fact, they even included Balatro. This thing has Balatro, and you might think, well, that's gonna look strange right on that top thing. But if you turn it sideways, then you can play like this. This is wild. In fact, the DS has some games that you play like this, especially like the graphic novels and stuff. And this is actually a fully playable way to do Balatro, if you're into that. Now this thing does come loaded with games, but a lot of them seem unnecessary. If you swipe through here with your finger, or with the buttons, you'll find that there are a lot of consoles on here, and many of them use the 4:3 aspect ratio. There is Game Watch though. You can actually use this to play old Game & Watch gallery games. And this is pretty wild because I don't know if you ever played the old Tiger handhelds, but this thing kind of feels and looks like a Tiger handheld. They were like white blocks. Like if Tiger came out with a new and improved handheld trying to match today's standards, well, this might be kind of what it looks like. It's pretty neat. But aside from that, most of these just are unnecessary, and there's really no fun in playing them. You can play Nintendo 64 on a tiny little screen. It's literally that big. Do you want to see Mario jump around that big in a 3D environment? I don't know. If you need to, you can. It actually plays well. It's just silly though. Pico is another one that this is decent for. The Pico 8 is like a fantasy handheld, an 8-bit console that never actually existed, but people make games for it. And there are, I think, hundreds of games. There are a lot that it came included on this. And, oops. And these look really good on here. This is almost... I could say this could be a dedicated Pico handheld if you want. Everything looks pretty nice. When all is said and done here, I think this is one of the best handhelds to come out in 2025 so far. I really like the Anbernic RG Slide, but this is now my dedicated DS handheld. Like, I don't really want to play DS any other way. I'm finding myself thinking of DS games that I want to go back and experience this way. This is really awesome, and for $75, you can't really go wrong. I would recommend getting one, If you have one of these, let me know in the comments below what you've been playing, what you found out about it, what you like, what you don't like. I think the buttons are pretty great. I think it feels pretty good in my hands. I do think the analog stick is a little awkwardly placed, but it's helpful, and some games I do use it. Though, the DS didn't actually have that anyways, so my hands are fine right here. And I could touch the screen. It's a beauty, y'all. I'm serious. I'm really excited about this. I like it a lot. The battery life is excellent too ever since that update. It's really freaking sweet, man. It's light. Very light, but not too light. Fits in my pocket. If it were any wider, it probably would not. I love it, y'all. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Really helps me out, encourages me to make more videos. I got a lot more coming. And some of them are handhelds. Look at this. This is your bonus since you stuck around to the end of the video. I like these little handhelds. I don't know if you know anything about these little handhelds that I've been talking about, but I find these tiny Game Boys, and I found this one, and this one actually plays Game Boy, and it's got a speaker and everything. This is absolutely wild. And when you buy these on AliExpress, they come with a bunch of loaded games that are not stolen, and they are not licensed and copywritten, yet they're still fun, and you can add your own games, I think. I say I think because back here we had this little hidden cartridge with the micro SD card that is glued in place. So yes, I can add my own games, but I'm probably going to have to pry that off, and we'll do that in the video when we actually review this little bad boy. So stick around, subscribe. We're going to have a lot of fun, alright? So, catch you on the piece.
Childhood, we were all there together, and in denial would play like it was forever. And in the tall woods, we'd stay out of the weather like it was all good. Every day we made it for pleasure. We were saying whatever came to our minds, plain and simple like a tetherball reaching the sky.